Good morning. My name is Joshua Swainston, and I'll be your host for this morning's ProtoMAX virtual trade show. We will be focusing primarily on the educational benefits of the ProtoMAX and covering curriculum and how it works, as well as some of the other educational benefits as we move forward. As we're still practicing social distancing, I'm here at my house. We have two other members who will be joining us as we progress. Dave Fuller, who is the product manager for ProtoMAX, and Jessica Valador, who is our customer service person for ProtoMAX, and they'll be joining us as we continue. So as we start now, I will start a short video that will explain the ProtoMAX, and then we will move on from there.
Meet the ProtoMAX by OMAX. The ProtoMAX is the first light industrial water jet on the market. Metal, glass, plastic, and wood. The ProtoMAX cuts almost any material under 1 inch thick with a 12-inch by 12-inch cutting area.
Well, he says, yeah, if you want to bring it in, go ahead. So we brought it in and we started cutting things, and I had no idea how many small parts that I was going to end up cutting. And I mean, we've gone through buckets and boxes of abrasives with this thing, just cutting out all this stuff.
Using the new ProtoMAX abrasive Waterjet as a teaching tool for the next generation of manufacturers, OMAX inspires design, machinery, and innovation as students and teachers explore the advancements of abrasive Waterjet technology. The ProtoMAX IntelliMAX software is developed alongside the abrasive Waterjet hardware. Using empirical data on how the jet stream behaves with the specific configuration of nozzle, abrasive, material cut, and more, the developers are able to better adjust for what is actually happening at every single point along the cutting toolpath. With advanced OMAX engineering in a space-friendly package, the ProtoMAX delivers 30,000 PSI cutting power with a 5-horsepower pump.
The power to cut through 1-inch steel comes from the ProtoMAX 5-horsepower pump. OMAX has decades of experience in ultra-high pressure, and we use this knowledge to take the existing advanced direct drive technology, simplify and consolidate and reduce the size of the pump. The result is a system that is powerful and cuts fast.
ProtoMAX is an excellent user-friendly machine to build a curriculum around advanced manufacturing technology. Compact, safe, and easy to use, the ProtoMAX is a perfect teaching tool. Several universities have elected to add ProtoMAX to their engineering, material sciences, robotics, and arts programs, allowing students to experience hands-on innovative technology.
I decided to introduce Waterjet cutting technology as a teaching platform because it was basically the last missing piece as far as my curriculum, where I already have CNC mills, routers, a CO2 laser, CNC plasma, and the Waterjet was kind of the missing link that allows us to process materials in a different way and also have a much higher level of accuracy and detail that we can't get with our other machines.
Now that you've learned a little about the ProtoMAX, let's dive into how the machine actually works. Welcome to the ProtoMAX Virtual Trade Show.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Fuller, the product manager for ProtoMAX. Thank you for joining us, and thank you also for your indulgence in viewing this COVID-induced goatee. I know it's not very pretty. So let's talk about ProtoMAX. Obviously, my favorite subject. It is the most compact, powerful, affordable, industrial design, what we call entry-level abrasive water jet. Why is it an entry level? Because it is an affordable bridge to abrasive water jet enlightenment. It is your segue into the world, the wonderful world of abrasive water jet cutting. You can go and start learning about ProtoMAX today by signing on to our website, www.protomax.com, and viewing all the features and benefits of ProtoMAX. So, as we go down to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about the specifications of ProtoMAX. And this is a technical specification sheet that's also derived from our website. When it comes to some of the pertinent items, the footprint is one of the ones that makes it most attractive because it can fit in spaces that you would never have dreamed a water jet could fit before. And we'll show you that outline. And it only requires 230 to 240 volt single phase dedicated 30 amp circuit power. Pretty much the same kind of circuitry that an electrician would apply if you're going to be putting in a dryer, as an example, except it's 30 amp requirement. It's a very accurate machine. Linear positional accuracy is plus or minus 5 thousandths. Repeatability point to point is plus or minus 3 thousandths. And you can often get very, very more accurate with the proper type of fixturing and stability on the machine. The video mentioned that it's a 12-inch by 12-inch cutting area. You can put a bigger piece of material on there, about 13.5 to 19-inch size material can go on, but the effective cutting area is 12 by 12. And it does indicate that you can cut up to 1 inch thick material, but the cutting models have been set up so you can cut up to 3 inches. There's nothing like out there in the marketplace that'll cut up to 3 inches in such a compact platform. And you do that by setting up special fixturing and drop slats. And if you have a need for that, we can discuss that. The video mentioned that the pump horsepower is 5, output pressure 30,000 PSI, and we use a 30 thousandths mixing tube and an 8 thousandths orifice, but you can also purchase and utilize 21 thousandths mixing tubes. What can it cut? This is also off of our website, virtually anything, and that's what the video had described. So if you know anything about abrasive water jets at all, even if you don't, think about what you want to cut, and there's a strong chance that that can be cut with an abrasive water jet. If you're cutting tempered glass, I wouldn't recommend it, but virtually anything else. It's a very short list of what it can't cut. And that's the power and beauty of abrasive water jet cutting, is the versatility. So you can see different examples of what's been cut, and you can go on the website and dive into this deeper and find out exactly how long it took to cut each one of these components and how much abrasive was used. We have a utilities guide again on the website. Let's bring out and talk about some of the pertinent requirements. ProtoMAX comes with its own computer. It's not a powerful, robust computer. It's specifically designed to run our CAD/CAM system, which we call IntelliMAX. The CAD portion is called layout. The CAM portion is called make. And you have a USB cable that fits directly into the computer, which means you're going to also need to power the computer 115 volt outlet. In terms of water supply, city water is what we would recommend without any further filtration required. If you're going to run well water, or you're going to run, if you have rusted pipes, old pipes, what have you, then you're probably going to want to take a look at a pre-filtration system. Again, if you have any concerns, we can do a water quality test, and we can talk about those options. You're going to need to have nominal temperature, 45 to 80 degree Fahrenheit water temperature. If it gets too hot, it'll fault out. You want to make sure that you have sufficient pressure, 45 to 85 PSI. There is some tolerance within those ranges, but you don't want to get too low or too high in your water pressure. And normally that's sufficient. Then you want to make sure that you have sufficient drain capacity. We also have an optional drain water filter tank that separates the material from going to drain, as well as a lot of the slurry or garnet abrasive. And you want to consider that. And then that has a sump pump and a float switch that allows you to pump out water as it starts raising level. Again, talk about the compactness. You can see that you're going to need some space surrounding the system to allow entry and exit. from around the system as you're loading parts and cutting. You're going to need sufficient clearance in the back of the system to assure that you can open up the electrical cabinet as required, and also to make sure there's sufficient clearance for the high pressure plumbing on the Y axis to be able to move sufficiently without any restriction. But again, very compact. You notice that and many of the renderings will show, and will show live also, that there are casters on the system. The pump is confined within the framework of the system, and that's also on casters. You can connect the two, and if you have a need to move the system frequently, let us know and we can tell you how you can connect those two. Particularly for educational institutions, it's extremely important that you have enough access to our software to be able to run it and update with new versions. There is no cost for our software. And you can download unlimited copies. You could actually go into, and I'm going to show you that right now, our website. Here's the main website. You can go up to menu, software. Tells you a lot of the features and benefits. You want to take a look at this. Particularly the features and benefits concerning how you can draw on the system, import files, and trace, design. And then at the very bottom, it shows you how you can download your software. And you can pick a variety of different languages to download the software also. I think it's up to 20 different languages. Here's the educational benefits. I think you've already, for the most part, understood that it's an extremely valuable addition to your academic lab. It is the perfect teaching tool. The powerful 5 horsepower direct drive pump delivers the cutting speeds at 30,000 PSI that provides your students a realistic industrial quality experience. There's many, as was mentioned in the video, robotic teams that actually use this to produce a lot of the bracketry and prototype parts that are required to optimize performance of the robot. All of OMAX pumps are direct drive or triplex pumps. The safety features are inherent. There is a safety lock that prevents the machine from cutting when the lid is open. That means that you can very quickly certify students to run the system. It gives you an opportunity to extend the runtime throughout all grade levels also. The IntelliMax software is virtually the same as what we use for our industrial machines. That means students are ready for the next level, whether it's to be an instructor, whether it's in the commercial world as a design for abrasive water jet cutting, or to operate abrasive water jets. We've actually had in one of our customers, there was the sophomore class took over the setup and operation and maintenance of the system. And it was extremely easy for that grade level. And we've had some of our other students in the middle school that have been able to run it with not an issue whatsoever. It's extremely intuitive, very easy, and very safe to run. Every curriculum is different, so we provided links to help craft a tailored course. I'm going to go back and show you how we do that. We're going to go back to ProtoMAX website. We're going to go into the menu again. And in the menu, you have a lot of options. You have community, which is a forum for you to send your ideas and also questions. Software we just mentioned, accessories page, frequently asked questions, and knowledge base, which we'll take a look at. When we go to community, we've posted in different topics, particularly Abrasive Water Jet 101, where you can pull and access our curriculum guide. There's 2 entries. The one from September is the latest version. And in that, you'll see Waterjet basics, designing parts, cutting parts, using the ProtoMAX for business, as well as an opportunity to have your students take a certification test and receive a certificate, which further reinforces the learning. And here's the operator certification task list. And this is extremely important for you to be able to feel comfortable operating it yourself as an instructor, as well as having your students operate it. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. And here's the certification itself. Suitable for framing. If you'd like me to sign it, I'd be more than happy to. Okay, that is my portion of the presentation. I'll turn it back to Josh.
Looks like we got Jessica up and running here, so we'll go straight into our demonstration.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Next thing that I'm going to show you is the actual ProtoMAX itself. I'm going to switch over cameras so that you can see what I'm talking about. So just give me 1 second. Okay. So here we have the inside of our ProtoMAX right now. I've got some cutting material because we're going to be cutting here in a little bit. So I've already got that in place. Behind it, you can actually see the slat beds. That's what is holding your material up. Here we have our post and our clamps that we secure our material with. On both left and right side, you have abrasive catcher bins. These are going to catch the abrasive as you're cutting to lessen the fill of the entire overall ProtoMAX, but definitely good to have. Over here, move the camera a little bit. You're going to see our drain. This is just a manual drain. Raise it up and down. Down, obviously draining your water out. Up is keeping it at a level that you want during cutting. The nice thing, or one of the important things that you want to remember about the drain, is that we try not to fill the water. We don't want to get the water overfilling because we risk damaging some components and whatnot. So best practice is, let me remove this, to not fill your water above this bracket right here. That's a good reference point. You're always going to want to keep your water below this bracket. So next thing I want to show you, if we come around here, we've got your mixing tube, your nozzle body. Inside your nozzle body is your orifice. That's an 8 thousandths orifice. Your mixing tube is 30 thousandths. And then inside here, somewhere right in about ballpark, right this area, is your last chance filter. So that's good to know. Here you have your high pressure lines that are going to run all the way back, out, down into the pump. And then here we come across to our hopper. Our hopper is what's holding our abrasive. For those of you that don't know what abrasive is, this is actually what is eroding your material as it cuts. So think of it as the water is the driver, and this is what's actually cutting it. So it's just like sandpaper, the stuff that you find like on sandpaper. It's a mineral in the ground. We're using 85 HPX. Down here you have your hose for your abrasive feed line. It's going to come all the way out. It's going to wrap around. You've got your light. It's going to wrap behind that, come all the way out, and then down where you're going to plug it into your hole for your abrasive feed. And then if we come around to the side a little bit, I'm going to show you our motors. Right here is our X-axis motor, and then the other black box that you can hardly see, that's your Y-axis motor. If you look at it from the rear, you're going to see a green little light displayed on it as well. It's definitely good to know where those are located at for any reference that you may need later on. I'm going to give you an overall view of it. You've got your lid. You've got your lid sensors, as Dave mentioned earlier. Can't cut unless the lid's closed. These are your sensors that are preventing you from doing that. I've got the covers off the ProtoMAX so I can show you what it looks like. If you go down here, here's where your tank ends at, and then your pump down below, 5 horsepower pump, 30 thousandths PSI of pressure. You've got your wet end on the right-hand side and your high pressure lines coming in. And then if we come to the side, this is where your incoming water will be. This is your incoming water. As an accessory, you can have a hose. I definitely recommend a hose. You're going to need it to rinse off material. Here's your filter, your pre-filter. And then you're always going to want to know what your incoming water pressure is. Right now we're about 43-ish, maybe 45-ish, 48. And then coming out here is your drain hose. And then we've got it in our abrasive filter tank. That's what that looks like. A lot of people just have it going out to a drain of their likings. And then your power switch. I guess that's a key one to note. So that's that. That's an overview of our ProtoMAX. I'm going to hook this back up to the camera. Just give me a second. Now I'm going to switch over to the webcam, and I'm going to show you my screen and just give you a little rundown of the software itself. So here we have the software. Now you can import any kind of, well, not any, but most other CAD files. So we can import ORDs, DXFs, PDFs, DWGs, SVGs, AIs. So we got a question asked a lot if you can use other CAD programs. Absolutely. The ones that I just listed are not all of them, but those are the main ones that a lot of people use. So that's a good thing to have and know. And you would just simply go up to File, Import from another CAD program. It'll ask you a few prompts, you answer them, and then you're on your way and it'll come up. So in this case, I'm just going to draw a quick little box just to show you, because you always have to finalize your drawing within our software so that you can get an ORD file that is compatible to communicate with the ProtoMAX. So say I just imported this drawing with a 3x3. Here we go. So this is what your drawing is going to look like if you just imported it. It's going to be green for your traverse lines, green traverse lines. What a lot of people don't know is you have to assign a quality to it. So you can go in here to quality, and quality 1 meaning that it's going to cut the fastest, but your edge quality may be not the best, but it's definitely livable. 5 means it's going to cut the slowest, but your quality is going to be a lot nicer finish. In most cases, people get away with the quality 3. That's just fine for them. So in this case, you can come up to quality 3 and select quality 3 and select all the lines that you want. Now, a quicker and easier way, if you've got tons of lines, all you got to do is go to quality, right click it, select all, and then choose the quality that you want, and it'll automatically do it. So it saves you a lot of time and hassle to do it that way. The last and most important part of it is you've got to auto path it, or not, sorry, you got to path it. So that is what creates your traverse lines and your lead in and lead outs. Your traverse line is where it's going to move to the location that you want it to begin cutting, but it's not activated the pump. Your lead in and lead outs are where the pump is starting to turn on. You never want to start cutting dead on to the center of where you want to start cutting an actual physical key part. So that's where our lead in and lead outs come out. We do have a tool that is an auto path. You can click this, it'll generate your lead in and lead out. As a default, it always starts at the left bottom and ends at the top right, or top left, sorry. And so what this is doing is it's saying, okay, I'm going to traverse up here. I'm going to lead in right here, and then I'm going to go down, come around, cut my square, lead out, and then traverse to a safe location that I know I can pull my part on. So all you have to do is select where you want it to begin. Keep in mind, if you choose the top left as your starting point for your traverse, it's going to cut on the inside of your box, where that isn't right. We want the box itself, so we need to make sure that we choose the bottom left, because that's how it was designed to cut the outside of the parameter. So if we just go, sorry, I gotta move this little window. If you just go up to post, it's gonna, oh, sorry, I always forget this stuff. You've got to save it. In most cases, a lot of people save their drawings because they don't want to lose it. In this case, it was just a sample. So I'm gonna go, excuse me, and hit save as. I'm just gonna file it as unnamed on my desktop. I already have one. Yes, I want to replace it. Then you can go up to post. Move this guy out of your way. Select the starting point, and here we are. This is what's going to generate our ORD file. This is our last stop to say preview your drawing, make sure it's all right, make sure you're cutting on the outside, not the inside, wherever it may be. If it was a more complex part, you're going to, hit check for problems, see if your radiuses are okay, if there's any possible collisions, if there's a bunch of little parts and, you cut right here, and then it zooms down to right here, and then it goes back here, and then it tries to reverse. So these loose parts that you cut may be floating around, so it's going to say, hey, there may be a possible collision, and you definitely don't want that with your mixing tube because you risk damaging it, and then also risk ruining your material. So if this is perfect, and this is the way you want it, you can go in to save. And wherever you save this main DXF file is where the ORD file is going to be saved at as well. So it's going to go into my desktop because that's where I saved it. So now we can go over to make. Now we're going to go into make. This is our driver. This is what is running the ProtoMAX itself. So this little butterfly right here, change path setup, is where you're going to click to finalize and choose the file that you want. In this case, we're going to cut some tweezers out today, but if we wanted to cut that box, it's right here. But we want to do some tweezers. In here, this is the important part before cutting. You're going to want to select the material. We've got a drop-down box of a lot of materials. You can add materials as well. You just need to know the machinability for that specific material that you want to cut. So in this case, our material thickness is 0.125. Our tool offset is 15 thousandths because our mixing tube is 30 thousandths, so tool offset is half of that. Now, if I had, a little section of the material left, I could rotate it in here. I could scale it to make it smaller or larger. So those are nice little features. If you forgot about it in layout, you can do a last minute change on those. We're good to go here, so I'm just going to hit OK. In here, there is a radius that is too small. I already knew about it, not a big deal. I'm going to say it's okay. I can live with that because it's not a critical part. But this is just the last warning. Say, hey, are you sure you want to cut this because it doesn't fully meet your requirements per your drawing? So, yep, I want to do that. I'm going to load my part up. Now here we go. Nice thing about our software over here, you can come down to the left and verify. All right, I've selected material. I've got my machinability, my thickness, my tool offset, and I've got no alterations for my rotation. It's telling me that it's going to take about 4 minutes to cut, and it's going to consume less than 1 pound of abrasive. And we've got 2 pierces. The piercing points are your turning on and off the pumps. So as you can tell, we've got it's going to come traverse. It's going to cut out my P. So it's going to traverse, turn on my pump, cut out the P, turn off the pump, go in, and then cut the entire tweezers, and then end out with a traverse over here. So those are your 2 piercings. So now I'm going to go back over to our webcam. And I'm going to set this up so that we can begin cutting. So first thing you want to remember is that the ProtoMAX uses a 75 thousandths standoff tool. This is your gauge to set the height for your material and your mixing tube. You never want the mixing tube and the material to touch one another. It will cause clogging. And if you have a Waterjet, you're going to experience clogging at some point or another. You want to avoid it as much as possible because it is a hassle to clean it. You got to throw away all your abrasive, clean out your lines, and so on and so forth. Another recommendation we have, it's not required, but it is a nice tool to have on hand, is air, so that you can blow off your parts, clean any clogs, anything like that. Like I said, it's not a requirement, but it is definitely a recommendation to have. It is nice to have. So here I am, just going to simply do them over here. There's a neuro knob on the left-hand side. I'm just going to twist it, lower it, and put my standoff tool in there. And then I'm going to tighten it down. Then the last thing you want to do is shimmy your standoff gauge. If it doesn't move, that means it's too tight. So you want to come back and adjust it so that it's not tight, and it should move nice and freely just like that. So we're good to go there. Last thing we have is our muff. Definitely keeps your tank clean, it reduces noise. Great tool to have. So you just turn it like a half of an orange, I guess. Here we're going to come, I'm going to reach around the camera here, and I'm going to fill up the water. Just so that there's enough touching, or it's covering the material itself. Again, the spray nozzle does not come with the ProtoMAX. It is an additional accessory. You can't live without it, in my opinion. You definitely want a spray nozzle. It's a lifesaver, and obviously you have to raise and lower your water constantly. It's definitely nice to have. Let's give this a minute. Again, you just want to cover it just a little bit. As you're cutting, the water in the tank is going to fill. So you got to keep in mind that you want to adjust your drain so that while you're cutting, and if it's a long part, you don't want to overfill it, because then it's not going to drain enough. Then you're going to worry about overflowing your machine, and then you're going to get above that bracket that I mentioned, and we definitely want to avoid that. So that's plenty of water. Another thing I forgot to mention is I previously secured the material. You want to make sure that your material isn't going to move at all. I use just 2 fingers, just shimmy it back and forth. We've got our clamps. It's nice, it's great. Again, we got to shut down the lid, close down the lid, and I'm going to start the machine. I'm going to let you guys see. It's going to get cloudy in there. It's going to get so where you can't see it. At that point, we'll switch it back over to Dave so he can show you some sample parts and stuff like that. But in the meantime, I'm going to start this up, and let's see what we got.
All right. While Jessica is showing you the cut, I'm also going to show you some of the recent pieces that we managed to make on ProtoMAX. So let's start off with aluminum. Little gasket, or tail end of a flange. Here's what we call a dog bone. Again, 1-inch thick aluminum. Took about a little less than 30 minutes to cut. Dog bones are also used. They're so named because they look like a dog bone, but they're really for tensile strength, material tensile strength, pull testing. And we have a lot of customers in design, prototype, R&D that buy ProtoMAX in order to cut dog bones. Here's wood. You can see where there's no delamination. Stainless steel. Rubber gaskets. Carbon fiber. ProtoMAX is a perfect piercing machine. And you can see now also that the path that's being taken to cut the pair of tweezers that Jessica is doing. When I say a pure piercing machine, is that there's a ramp up of about 4 seconds to introduce high pressure water gradually into the nozzle body. At the same time, it's drawing via Venturi effect and the suction gravity pull that's sucking the garnet from the hopper. Again, Venturi effect. That introduces the mixture of the high pressure water and garnet into the nozzle body at the same time. And then that mixture, that slurry, is then exiting the mixing tube when you start your cut, which means that mixture, when it does that, that mitigates and prevents delamination of material. So you can cut carbon fiber beautifully. Glass. You can tell it's glass because you can see me through it. And it's got a glass-like texture. As well as you can make different parts that shows you the precision of the system. What I showed you before was one program, two separate parts. 17-inch bridge girder. When I mentioned a 12-inch by 12-inch cutting area, the reason I mentioned that you could put a bigger piece of material in is that you can index and cut a larger piece. That's the beauty and flexibility of ProtoMAX. So I think Jessica is done. So I'm going to turn it back over to her to show you the tweezers.
Okay, so as you can see, our cut is finished. I'm going to lower down the drain so we can see our material again. Pull out some tweezers. And that's what it looks like. Finished, nice edge quality. And this is, you know, fresh out. No cleaning up necessary. Beautiful. And that's it. And then you just hose it down, clean it up, and cut your next part. I think now we're going to get into some Q&As.
Yeah, we received several questions before the presentation. Everybody was offered the opportunity to add a question when they registered. We also do have, if you look on the dashboard there, questions already rolling in down at the bottom where you can submit your own questions and we can answer them. We do have a few here that I'm going to start with. Looks like first question is, can abrasive be recycled?
Great question. We get that a lot, and not cost effectively when utilizing ProtoMAX. On the other hand, if you are running 20, 30, 40 tons of garnet a year, then it's probably cost effective to have it recycled. But what happens in the cutting action itself is it chews up the crystalline structure of the garnet. So it makes it very ineffective to utilize all of the abrasive. You could probably, at an industrial size machine, 30% or so can be salvaged. And that's why it's not cost effective unless you're running tons and tons of garnet. So what do you do with the garnet if it can't be recycled from a ProtoMAX cost effectively? We throw it away. It's a mineral, it's a mined material, or you could repurpose it as concrete mix.
Question just came in. They realized that there's multiple size mesh for garnet. But what size mesh garnet does the ProtoMAX use?
It uses, Jessica mentioned earlier, she was running with 85 HPX. So between 80 and 85, there's two different types of garnet generally. One is an alluvial brand, and Barton Mines is a company that manufactures for us, and they have a designation HPA for alluvial. You can use 80 HPA. They also run mine material from their mining site in the Adirondack Mountains. That's designated as HPX. And between 80 and 85 mesh is what you can run. Can you run 120 mesh? Yes, you can. We'd ask you to talk to us about that first because it flows much, much faster. The abrasive hopper has a feed block in it with an orifice that's designed to optimize use of 80 to 85 mesh. If you're going to use 120, it's going to go much faster. We would recommend that you also take a look at a 21-pound mixing tube when you're doing that.
A question just came in. How big can you index?
Again, you can put about a 19 to 20 inches piece of material on the ProtoMAX bed lengthwise or in your X direction. And you can put up to about a 14-inch piece of material if you take out what we call square fixture plate. That's a plate that you first machine. That's your first cut that you do on ProtoMAX when you purchase new. That's what sets the position of all the material that you're going to be cutting, so it's got one designated home position for it. You can, if you take that out, you can put a 14-inch piece of material, but with that in, it's about a 13 and a half inch piece, and you can index up to that 19-inch length.
And I think I forgot to mention the cutting bed is a 12 by 12 if it wasn't stated before. I know I was supposed to mention it, but I think I skipped over that.
So somebody here has said they see some materials being cut thicker than 1 inch on a ProtoMAX. How is that possible?
Yeah, so our Z only allows you to cut or move 1 inch, right? It's a little more than 1 inch, but you can't get above that. So what you have to do is you have to remove those slat beds that I showed you that the material is resting on, kind of jimmy a fixture up so that you can cut thicker material in there. It will cut up to 2 inches of material, so you just gotta figure it out for fixture holding 3 inches, and you're good to go.
What is the overall cost of running a ProtoMAX?
Oh, I'll take that one. If you could throw me the screen, Josh, let me take folks to a page here.
Here you go, Dave.
Thank you. So we're going to go on down to the ProtoMAX website. So what you should see, Jessica, can you see it, the ProtoMAX website?
We're good to go.
Good. So you go up, you go to menu again. We talked about that. We're going to go to frequently asked questions. I'm going to segue just a little bit to knowledge base because I want to show y'all the opportunity you have to start learning now about ProtoMAX. So you can go in and talk about all the utility and site preparation that's required, which is not much. Unpacking, uncrating the material because it comes in its own crate, suitable for shipping internationally. And then how to install, operate, and maintain. Several videos, as well as text, and the text can be translated into up to 20 different languages. We're going to go back to the main website. We're going to go back up to menu. You could also go back down to the very bottom and choose FAQ, but I want to get you used to using the menu. We're going to go to frequently asked questions. And this is really helpful to start preparation now about your understanding of abrasive water jets and ProtoMAX in particular. How does it work? Again, it talks about erosion that Jessica mentioned earlier. How often is maintenance required? Safety features. How loud is a ProtoMAX? You heard it cutting when I was giving you some, showing you some of the samples that we had cut. It's probably 72 dB. You can have a normal conversation during the cutting action right there at the system. And then also there's a discussion about the different types of files that you can pull, and it's actually a more extensive list. We go to cost, it gives you a summary of the cost to operate. The mechanical consumables and the maintenance cost is going to be about $12.50 an hour. Then depending on what kind of garnet you purchase, garnet is the single highest cost component for running an abrasive water jet. If you buy buckets of garnet from us, just in the United States, by the way, just in the lower 48, then that cost per pound is quite high, and then it's going to be another 21 bucks. You're going to go up to about 33 bucks. If you buy garnet locally, you can buy garnet in some cases delivered as low as 25, 30 cents. We use an example of 45 cents. You can see it substantially lowers the cost, and now you're looking at a total roll-up cost less than $20 an hour. So I'm going to go back. You can go ahead and take it back unless there's another question that involves going to the website, Josh.
Can you discuss some of the educational institutions that have a ProtoMAX?
Absolutely. There are about 135, I think, institutions or so that have ProtoMAX, and they range anywhere from a middle school all the way through research, very substantial, well-endowed, and prestigious research universities. And some of those include Graz University in Austria. We have Rice University in Houston, Texas, Yale University in Connecticut, and the list goes on and on. MIT has 4 ProtoMAX. And then we have several institutions. North Carolina State has 3 of them, and several other institutions have that. A lot of community colleges utilize it, particularly those that are dedicated to the career technical education, or what we used to call vocational curriculum. A lot of high schools, you saw in the video, initial video, Pierce County Skills Center, which trains 11th and 12th graders and teaches them how to, for the most part, get into the workforce to design for or operate abrasive water jets.
How many ProtoMAX machines have been sold?
We, that's well over 500. We're looking at about 500 and close to 550 systems in just a little over 2 years. Quite a substantial demand out there internationally.
When you were talking about universities, you mentioned one in Germany. How is ProtoMAX distributed internationally?
Oh, that's great. That's in Austria, but we have an international network of distributors that have exclusive territories throughout the world, and each one of those folks have their own technical service people, so they can help you with import of the system. They can help you with installation, troubleshooting. So it's quite an extensive local presence that speaks your language, literally.
Question came in about cutting glass. How does cutting glass work on the ProtoMAX?
Oh, that's why I mentioned earlier before, where it's a perfect piercing machine. Here's glass. It's not acrylic. If I drop it, it'll break. What happens is the water pressure starts to ramp up for about 4 seconds, and it starts to suck the garnet into the nozzle body. And that mixture, that slurry, comes together and rapidly exits the mixing tube and pierces the machine pierces the part without delamination or cracking the glass.
Looks like this one's a little bit more specific. This person already owns a ProtoMAX and is asking that they are getting some water creeping up into their feed tube. How can you prevent that?
Yeah, so we have actually the ProtoMAX in production right now here soon, within the next end of the month, give or take. It's going to be coming out with a hybrid line. We found that this one, it works great, but we've seen it better with a hybrid line of a polyurethane polyethylene tube. We have instructions on how to do that. If you want, we can email you how to use that. What happens is the pump lingers on for about 5 more seconds after it's traversing. So the pressure from the water is slowly trickling in, and it's going to go through the biggest hole possible, which is your abrasive hose. So that allows some water to hang up in there. You will always see that. So seeing some water and some wet abrasive in there is normal. We definitely recommend cooking it out, clearing it out before the next cut part. But if it's shooting up all the way up to your hopper, it's not supposed to be doing that. You definitely want to empty out all your abrasive in there. And again, we can get you some in-depth instructions on how to do the hybrid line and some clogging mitigations that'll definitely help you out.
Question here about pricing. ProtoMAX displays its price. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. ProtoMAX is set at a price point that is low for all markets. When you go to the ProtoMAX website, there's a big red icon that says order now. We appreciate humbly your clicking on that every single time you see it. Once you do that, it gives you an opportunity to order, but you're probably going to want to give us a call, send us a PO, which is fine, and then we can enter that for you. But when you hit that order now, you'll see the price of the ProtoMAX come up. It shows in the US the pricing at $23,950, and then it also suggests the acquisition of a spares and accessories kit. That's $1,805 US, and then also in the lower 48, additional buckets of garnet. Our distributors, obviously, there's going to have different pricing because it's going to involve a lot of different import fees and what have you. So that's going to vary by country, by location, and they're also going to be able to advise you where you can source garnet locally. You don't want to import any of the garnet in the buckets that we sell.
Hey Dave, is there any accessories that you can get for the ProtoMAX?
Absolutely. There is a number of accessories we're rolling. We may have time. If you want to throw it back to me, I can show you that. So last time we talked about the ProtoMAX website, we left off at frequently asked questions. We're going to go back to the home position. We're going to go to menu again. This is that big red button, order now. We're going to go to accessories. So we got a laptop tray. A lot of people select this because they want to make sure that they have the computer that's accessible right directly to and next to the system. It's an option only. A lot of people put this also the computer on top of a tool chest that you can move around on casters or a table, chair, or a bunch of yellow pages stacked up at the appropriate height. A polymer cutting bed is an excellent accessory if you're going to be cutting thin parts, non-metals, or small parts, because it's not going to fall inside. You can tab small parts, but it makes it a lot more convenient if you have a smaller intersection and interface of your slat bed, or I'm sorry, of your cutting bed. This is high-def plastic. It's also known as rhino board. Here's that square fixture I was talking about. So your first cut's going to be coming in and cutting an L-shaped location for your material. The system comes standard with a foam mesh drain screen, but you can get the option that Jessica showed on the system that we cut on with the stainless steel mesh. Rainwater filter tank is extremely important if you want to separate the material being cut, as well as a lot of the abrasive mixture that settles in the bottom from going to drain. The water spray nozzle we talked about. Here's a spares kit or a consumables kit we would recommend that you get. It's going to put all the items that you need to rotate out on a regular basis on the shelf for easy access. You want to do an ultrasonic clean of your mixing tube, nozzle body, and orifice about every week or so for about 8 to 10 minutes. You want to grease the bellows. You want to grease inside the bellows on your X and Y at the recommended interval. And we have a master kit we talked about that a lot of people buy with the system that contains a drain water filter tank, spray nozzle, and all the consumables. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Josh.
Well, we're going to wrap it up now. Post-show, you should be seeing a survey pop up. Please fill that out. That tells us how we're doing. It helps us tailor our content so that when we do the next one of these, that we answer your questions better and we show you what you want to see. Again, thank you guys for coming, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, everybody.